Here now to walk us through the latest developments on this recent turmoil in Egypt is RT's Arabic correspondent, Reema Abu Hamdieh. How are you doing today, Reema?
Good, thank you.
Now, starting off, can you tell us what sparked this most recent violence in Egypt?
Well, it's a problem that's been building up for the past few weeks, for the past 2 months almost. There is mistrust on both sides. There is the feeling that every side is right. There is the perception that justice is on the side of one party or one group against the other. And I think that basically led to what we are seeing in Egypt today.
Are you saying that it was a long time coming and this is just the inevitable?
The sit-ins have been sitting there. The sit-ins have been there for the past 47, 48 days. So it was inevitable that the government is going to do something about it, yet we didn't know when or how or whether those demonstrators are just going to go home on their own.
Now, if the military were to release Mohamed Morsi, do you think that would help to dissipate some of the chaos that we're seeing in the country at this time?
This is a stage that is overdue now. This is past. Maybe it would have helped had it happened a few weeks ago, but I think this is already, we can't even talk about it because we know that maybe it will just make things worse if they are to release him now.
Now, has the military provided the Egyptian people with a long-term plan other than the one that they initially, when they ousted Morsi, other than that initial one, have they updated or revised their plan?
They've been declaring their commitment to that roadmap that they've announced earlier. Which includes parliamentary elections, presidential elections, giving up power to the interim government. And that's exactly what we saw happening over the past few weeks. We just don't know if they're going to go by the timeline that they set to hold those elections, given the situation that's happening in Egypt now.
Is it kind of impossible, given what they said, and now that they're completely attacking a peaceful protest, it seems kind of impossible to stand by their initial long-term plan?
A lot of people would argue peaceful protesters part. A lot of people say that these are not peaceful protesters. These sit-ins had weapons with them. A lot of people would tell you, no, they have been there for 47 days. We have not seen them do anything. So it's really a debatable issue, given that each side is trying to document every single second, and everyone is showing the picture as they see it and not the whole picture. We don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know what happened earlier today during these evacuations of the protesters. But we also don't know what is going to happen from now on. We don't know if this is the end of the story, everyone's just going to go home and maybe try to come to a peaceful resolution from now on, or this is going to deteriorate into something that's worse. And we already saw some of the burning of the churches that people say is probably going to affect any reconciliation process in the future, not just the burning of but also the attack on some of the police stations. And the Muslim Brotherhood, for instance, I was talking to some of their spokespeople earlier today who were holding press conferences in Washington, D.C., or people who are not associating themselves with the Muslim Brotherhood, but they say that they're pro-Morsi and pro-democracy, what they call in Egypt, who are saying that we have seen these people protesting for the past 2 months. They have not done any of that. Just the fact that it's happening today when they're being attacked by the military is something that they think is probably not exactly what the media, at least what the state media in Egypt is trying to portray it as.
Do you believe that Egypt is on the precipice of civil war? And if so, how will this affect the surrounding region?
Everything depends on what's going to happen from now on. If the situation gets worse, say in the next few days, a lot of people think that, yes, maybe Syria is headed towards that path. We've seen some of the statements made by El-Biltagi, for instance, one of the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, after his daughter was killed, who was saying that Sisi, the military leader, is pushing Egypt into that direction, into a Syria-like scenario. But we also saw people who are saying that, no, once the protesters are home, once the protests are over, this is it. Everyone's just, it's just going to be a normal situation again. It all happens, it all depends on what happens next from here.
Now, Hosni Mubarak, he came into power in a similar fashion. It was 1981, and Egypt was under a state of emergency, a national state of emergency, and he then ruled for 30 years. Do you think we're going to see a similar, if not the same situation take place?
Sisi had said over and over that he does not intend to interfere in political life. He does not intend to run for the elections. So he made clear that he is not repeating the scenario of the past. He's not doing what happened 30 years ago. Is he going to commit to these statements is something that we just have to wait and see.
Reema, thank you. That was RT Arabic correspondent Reema Abu Hamdieh.